Welcome back, everyone, to my YouTube channel, and thank you for your continued support. And I hope that you find my videos useful and informational. You can also check my blog page via the link below. Now that you've chosen Business Central to take your business to the next level and you're ready to take the first steps of your Business Central journey, well, you're probably curious how to get your data into Business Central in bulk, saving you time from manually entering them. So stick around and I will show you how to update and insert master records into Business Central. Now, before we start, I want to give you a little bit of history in how we used to do data migration, and some of those tools can still be used today, and we're going to cover one of them. In the early days of Dynamics ERP, well, even earlier versions, but I will start with Nav 5 Classic or Nav 2009 with SQL. There was a built-in tool called data migration. It allowed practically anyone in the organization to manually update records en masse unless you have security in place. Additionally, since the move to SQL, others were using SQL to insert large amount of data. Well, that still works today if you are using on-prem. But what about for those who are heading towards Business Central Online or SaaS? This is where configuration packages come in. It used to be called Rapid Start in Nav RTC or Role Tailored Client. Prior to that was data migration, which the name sounds much clearer then, in my opinion. So let's get started. And I want to start with a scenario. Let's say your partner have helped you insert your master records already. For example, items, customers, vendors, chart of accounts, etc. And now you want to be able to start creating sales order as you are testing through. You may have a requirement in managing your item sales price due to maybe inflation, price increase, seasonal prices, etc. Well, whatever that may be, you may have to maintain a large amount of data to import very quickly. Now, I won't get into other options of maintaining sales prices in this scenario, like sales price worksheet. I will save that for future video. My main focus is getting your first set of sales price since you are just starting your very first Business Central journey. So let's get started. So I'm on Business Central in the main menu. You may have some vendors already. You may have some item cards or items in the system. And so if I drill into an item, for example, there's a menu here called sales prices and discounts. So if I click on here, it gives me a few options. One is sales prices. Maybe you have some sales discounts. Purchase prices, how much you buy them from certain vendors. And so you have to maintain that. So if you have a product that you purchase from different vendors or customers that may have contract with you where they have different, they buy them in different prices, price levels, and so forth, that can be maintained in a table called sales price. So in this scenario, I'm going to take a look at a sales price on this item. So if I click on the sales price here, you see that there is one there already existing. So in this case, there's a particular customer price group in sales code is 10 pieces or 10. Yeah, I think that's a 10% discount. I'm sorry. And then for this particular item in a unit of measure of pieces, and there's no minimum quantity. So if they buy this, if the customer is assigned with a sales code 10% and they buy one or more, they get it for $60 for this particular item. Let's say you have a ton of item that you need to update. So if I clear a filter here, so as you can see, I only have very few. So if I take an item, for example, let's say 1896-S, this particular item, I want to be able to sell this in different prices based on different times. So you can manually enter that, but what happens if you have multiple items at different price levels? You may have different customers as well. Again, I won't get into the the details into the sales price, because there's different menus like customer price group, all customers. You may have a campaign and so forth. But I want to show you and illustrate that you can use configuration packages to set those prices in bulk. So let's get started. The first thing you want to do is search for configuration packages. So you click this menu at the far right hand corner. It's a global search menu, and basically it allows you to search for pages, reports, documentations, and things like that, not necessarily a particular record. So let's navigate to that menu or to that page, and I'm going to search for config packages. One thing too, you can search for a portion of that word, a portion of that word, and it should return the closest. In this case, I'm searching for config packages. It's going to return full configuration packages. You can also search for rapid start. So for those that are coming from nav that was using rapid start, you can still use that. There is configuration packages. There's also data migration as well. So what we're going to do is use configuration packages because it allows you to do some validation of some of the records that you insert. So let's get started. I'm going to navigate to configuration packages. As you can see, I've already created one. So what I'm going to do is start one from scratch. So I'm going to go ahead and just create new. So plus new. And give it a code. Now I've already have an existing config package called sales price, so you can't have the same code. So you're gonna have to give it a different name. So sales price, maybe version 2, because it's my second one, or maybe just say new. Okay, give it a name. So you need a config package name. So you see this asterisk here. This is a required value. So I'm gonna say sales price bulk. Product version, you can give this in any version you'd like. So you can do 1.0. Put a language in there. So it sets in English, but you can have multiple languages in there as well. And I'm not going to do any processing order because I'm only managing one table that I'm importing. And exclude config tables. This is useful for setups, base setups and configuration. But in this case, I'm just focus on sales price, so I'm going to go ahead and click that box. The next step is I'm going to identify what table I want to create a template. So I want to be able to export that and put bulk data. So in this case, I'm going to go search for that, and I'm going to search for sales price. So here it is. So you want to use sales price, not access, not worksheet, not buffer. So the sales price table itself. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to tab over, and it's going to pull in the record, or get to the next line over. It's going to pull in the related records. In this case, the table name. I'm going to hit yes. You see there's a reference table as well, a related table, and this is customer. Because remember, in the sales price table, you can have a specific customer in the sales price, so it's going to look at that as a related table. I'm just going to hit close here. And it's also going to pull in a few more things in here as well, meaning there's multiple fields, fields included, available fields, also existing records, number of database records. So if you notice earlier, I had 3 records in there for now. It's letting me know that I have 3 already in there. Now, if it's your first time, you may not have any records in there. So just keep that in mind. Now, before we move forward, I want to show you a few tricks to kind of minimize that template. Okay, because you can click Excel, export to Excel, and it's just going to take every single field in that sales price table, and that could be enough. But let's say, for example, I don't need everything, right? I just need a few fields. I can go ahead and kind of minimize that file, that template. So if I go ahead and click table, and you see there's a fields menu, so I can click fields here. And I'm getting an error. Let's find out what that is. Oh, probably because I'm at the right line. So I want to make sure I'm highlighting the line. Click table, and then fields. Okay, now it's pulling all that information. So you see there's quite a few other related table as well, but it essentially what it's doing for you, it's giving you a list of all the fields that are available for you to export to be added to your template. You notice that there's some gray areas or gray boxes here. That means those are required fields, or you can't just uncheck those. That's needed to make sure that you populate. Okay, so unit price, of course I want unit price. I may not care too much about that. I may not care about couple to CRM, and let's see, I may not care about price includes VAT, but looks like that's all I need. So once you confirm that this is the fields you need, you can hit close. There's also another column here called validate field. So what that means is as you insert records, it will validate against other related tables. So for example, you can't just insert a customer number that doesn't exist. It's going to validate that for you to make sure that that record exists. So best practice, I would leave that on. You must have a very good reason why you don't want to validate that. That's the beauty about config packages, because it runs the validation rules in the backend when you're inserting a record. So I'm going to leave all those checked. I'm going to click close. And the next step is I'm going to export and generate that Excel file. So I click on the Excel button here, and I'm going to export to Excel. Okay, it's going to tell me, okay, you're going to export one table, which is correct. I only have one table, and I've highlighted that table here. Hit yes. It's going to download that table for me, and we are going to take a look at that Excel here. All right, now we have the Excel file. It comes in like this. So you have a row for sales price that identifies, hey, this is your config package name. It is a sales price table 7002. So you want to make sure that you don't get rid of this row. Not only it's required, but it also allows you to know what table you're working on. If you are working with multiple table and you've exported the Excel, it's going to create additional sheets down below. But in this case, again, just kind of the most basic things about configuration packages, we're going to stick with just one table. So here's the existing 3 records in here. So a few things to note. You can remove this column or these rows and these records. It's not going to delete those records for you. So you can just add or remove here and just insert new records. Now, best practice, I would typically leave one row just to make sure that you kind of get the idea of the formatting of the record. So in this case, I'm going to use just the first row here, because that's the record that I need to update. Okay, so I'm going to go delete this, and here I'm going to let's say I have I need to bulk this in 20 records here, so I'm going to copy this over. And I don't want to specify the customer price group. I want to do all customers. All customer. So I'm just going to copy this over. There is no requirement for the sales code. Sales code is required if you're using customer price group or a particular customer or maybe a campaign. I'm just doing this, hey, every single customer, they are going to pay for this price. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just make this a little bit larger so you can see each column. You can also do starting date. So for example, if you're using this bulk functionality and you have a ton of the same items, then you can have a starting date. So let me go back to, oh, I thought I had a date here. So we can go ahead and just enter a date. So let's say, for example, I may have a price that starts at 6/1/2022. Okay, and I may have another one that the price may change in 2020 in July, and then another one is, so each month your price change. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of copy this over here. Let's say that's all I need to update. Each month there's a price change. So you also want to make sure the unit price, especially if your item have different unit of measure. So you want to make sure that you populate this. So in this case, this item only happens to have 1 unit of measure pieces. So I'm going to copy that over. If you have variants, you want to make sure that you handle the variant code. If you don't, you can go ahead and just skip that. You also have an option to enter minimum quantity. So for example, if they buy, they must buy 5, a quantity of 5 to get maybe a price break. Otherwise, the regular price is maybe whatever's on the unit, on the item card for unit price. So in this case, I just want a minimum of 1 for all of these. For all of these records, so you notice that it's supposed to be text. So formatting is important. For some, it may not be, but I always want to make sure that the format is the same how it came out. I've seen issues in the past where it just wouldn't enter it incorrectly. All right. So let's say, for example, in the month of June, it's $50, and then maybe it went up to it's 55, 60, 65, 60, 70, 75, 80. So by December, or maybe December, it's Christmas, so maybe it's like $45. Okay. There's also other columns here. Allow invoice discount. That means that it allows, if you have invoice discounts on customers, it's going to allow you to still get this price. So I'm just going to copy this over. I'm just going to copy exactly the way it is. You can also set ending date. So in this case, I'm going to leave it alone because you do have already a starting date. So what that means is going to get the best price. The last one may be important to have an ending date for this. But in my experience, you want to make sure that if you have a starting date with multiple dates in the future, I would suggest to put an ending date on these. So I'm going to go ahead and just put ending date. So I'm just going to populate. That didn't go well for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and just enter manually here for now. And then let's see, 8. I'm just gonna do it, whatever that may be. Oh, 8. No, that should be 9. 9, 30, 22. This is 10, 31, 22, 11, 30, 22, and then maybe January 1st, 2023. Okay. Oh. Okay. All right. So I have my records in place. Let's say this is a big amount of data. Again, this is small, so you can technically just enter this. But for the sake of demoing config packages, I want to illustrate that, if this was a large amount of data, that's important that you can work on it on this Excel file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this file. Typically, my recommendation is save it as a different Excel file. So that way you have a reference or a delta to compare what was originally prior to insert if you're doing updates. But in this case, I'm just doing a brand new import. So I'm just going to save it as is. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Now you do have to close that application because sometimes Business Central will let you know, hey, the application or the file is being used by another application. You'll have an issue of that being inserted. So we're going to do the fun part. The fun part is importing that record. So I'm going to click the Excel button, and there's an import from Excel. So I'm going to click import, and I'm going to go find that file. All right. So it's importing, and you're going to get this menu here as a preview. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click import. It's going to let you know, hey, is this the right table? Is this the right information? I'm going to say import. Okay, it's going to give you a little bit of information here. It says number of package records. There's 8, as you recall. and remember there's only 12 fields because I removed some of those fields. There's 3 fields I didn't care for. And you notice that there's a number of package errors. Now, before I move forward, when I click that import button, it does not mean I'm already importing the record into Business Central. It's going to run a few more validations. So, which it did this job, right? It's valid. It told me that, hey, there's an error within your record. So I can drill into this or go back. If you already know what the issue was, you go back to your Excel and make your changes and try to import again. So in this case, I don't have too many records. You can go ahead and drill down into this number. So I'm going to drill down. You see there's, it looks to be every single one of my records that's having this issue, right? I can go ahead and highlight any one of these and click the show error. Show error is going to give me some information why it stopped, why it gave me an error. So I'm going to go click show error. And you notice under the error text, I'm going to expand it a little bit. I should make this larger. It's going to let me know all customer is not a valid option. Valid options are customer, customer price group, all customers, and campaign. So all customer does not match to all customers. There's an S in there. That's why you leave validation turned on, because it's going to let you know that there's an issue. Now, if it wasn't turned on in some of the fields, it's going to insert as is, and it can cause you problems because it's going to create records in the back end that you may not need. Right? So it's going to create bad records, right? So you want to prevent that. So validate those fields. So I'm going to go make adjustment to my file, right? So I'm just going to hit OK here. Now I could make those adjustments directly from here because there's not a lot of records, so I can just change this. But let's say, for example, there's hundreds of records. I want to be able to make that change. So I'm going to go ahead and just reopen that file. It's going to be, now I won't pull up, there's my Excel here. I'm going to change this to S. So I'm going to go ahead and just highlight. I don't really need this, and I can illustrate that it won't delete it for you if I delete this row. Delete this row. I'm going to save it again and close it. Now let's go ahead and try to reinsert again. Now reinserting an Excel file will overwrite what you have right now on your package records. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just Excel, import from Excel, choose that file. I'm going to import. It's going to let you know, again, it's going to warn you, hey, it's going to overwrite what you have in there, which was the 8, because I had the extra column. So I'm just going to hit yes. Now remember, I deleted that first row because I don't need it, because it already exists. I'm not making any changes. You notice that it updated to 7. Okay, and let's move over to the right. I don't see any errors, so it passed my validation. I can go ahead and drill into that record just to make sure those are the correct records. It looks like it is. All right, I'm gonna hit OK. Now I'm going to apply the records into the sales price table. This is where it would actually insert these records or update the records against that table. It'll also run additional validation as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just apply the data. Okay. I have one table. That's correct. That's what I chose. Hit yes. It's going to give you a summary, a result. So one table that was inserted, 0 errors found, and there's 7 records inserted and 0 records modified. So I'm going to click OK. And I can go ahead and scroll over and confirm that it was originally 3. Now it's 10. Now I can drill into here and see all the records, right? That's the fastest way, or I can navigate to an item that you may have updated or inserted a record against. You can go that way and you can validate. So in this case, I'm just going to drill down and take a look. So these are my records that I inserted. And then there's the other 3 here that was there originally. So you see that there's my records here. So it looks like they're all inserted fine. without any issues. So from this point, you are technically finished. You've inserted your first bulk record into Business Central, specifically for the sales price table. If you future episode of future videos, I will dive into more of the advanced menus of configuration packages, like for example processing order, or maybe pull in dimensions as columns. So if you're using dimensions in Business Central, you may have you may want to skip certain tables. You may want to have a processing order. You may have multiple tables you want to update, and so forth. So we'll dive into those in the future. You can also export the package with the records to maybe import to another company within Business Central. So there's so many things that you can do with configuration packages. Thank you again for those that are supporting my channel. If you like this content, please hit the like and subscribe to my channel for future videos. And again, thank you everybody. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.